Hi readers and writers, it's good to see you again. Actually, you can see me, but I can't see you. Anyhow, I hope you had a great rest of the day. I enjoyed so much seeing you today, and I apologize that the technology did not work for us today, but hopefully I'll have it back up and running for you next week. So, this is part one of a two-part video as a way to wrap up some loose ends from class today. The first thing that I want to start with is I want you to create 2 more tabs in your portfolio. Right now you just have one tab that says reflections, and behind that tab are your essential questions. So I have 2 more tabs that I want you to create. The first one is your AOW tab, and here is where all of your articles of the week, after I have returned them to you, will go. So make sure you create a tab for Article of the Week, AOW. And the third tab in your portfolio is your Reading tab. And right now, what I'd like for you to put behind there, many of you created a page today in your portfolio after I did my book blurb on the books by Avi. And you titled them Books I Might Want to Read Someday, or something like that. The intention behind that page is to have a place for you to record books that you'd like to read someday, books that have been recommended by me or by your classmates. So you'll want to keep that in a safe place. So you'll want to keep that in behind your Reading tab. All right, the next thing that I want to talk about is I want to say one more thing about your Article of the Week from last week. It was really fun for me to hear many of you take a stand one way or the other on how whether or not you agreed or disagreed or how you felt about this article. So that was fun for me to hear. What I want you to take away from this article is that I don't want you to be afraid to struggle. It is my intention in this class that you may struggle from time to time. And that is for a very good reason, I think. I want you to struggle because I very strongly believe that when we struggle, we learn. If things are too easy for you, or if someone is always there to help you out, you never have the opportunity to figure something out on your own. So that is why I will design some difficult tasks for you, or I may have you read some difficult pieces of text. It's because I want you to engage in a little bit of struggle. Now, that being said, there's the other side to that. I don't want you to get the impression that I don't want you to ask questions. I do want you to ask questions. Please don't be afraid to ask me questions or your parents questions. So those are the 2 things that I wanted to leave you with this article. As I said, this is a 2-part video. The last part of part 1, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the prepositional phrases and how they differ from infinitives. So we'll talk about that, then we'll wrap up this video, and then the part 2 of this video will focus on this week's article of the week and a little bit from your writing notebook. So this week we talked about prepositional phrases and what makes them special. And you guys were so smart. You figured out that a prepositional phrase has to have a preposition, a little word from that list, that first page in your Easy Grammar books. So it has to start with one of those little words, and then the end of the phrase always contains a noun or a pronoun. So you'll want to be on the lookout for them. Now, the reason that I brought up infinitives today is because they can be tricky little buggers, because they are easily mistaken for a prepositional phrase because they always begin with the word to, T-O. What makes an infinitive different is that, oh, and there's Leo. He likes to sit behind me in my chair, so you get to meet Leo. Millie may come over. When she hears me talking, she likes to show up. So if you see her walking across the room, I'll make sure to point her out. Now, where was I? Okay, so Infinitives are different because they're similar because they start with what could be misunderstood as a preposition. The word to can be used as a preposition, but in the case of an infinitive, the word to precedes a verb. So when you are reading in your books and you're looking for phrases to bring into class or sentences that you appreciate and you like, or when you're working in your easy grammar book, don't be fooled by those infinitives. Always check when you see the preposition to, make sure that it really is a preposition. If it is, it's going to be followed by a noun or pronoun. If it's followed by a verb, you know it's not a preposition, it's an infinitive. So, one of the reasons one thing that we didn't have time for today was I wanted to help you kind of bridge from only looking in your easy grammar books for examples of prepositions and infinitives. I really want you to kind of be able to spot them in the real books that you read on a daily basis. So what I thought I would do for you real quickly is introduce you to one of my favorite nonfiction books. It's called Jellies. It's The Life of Jellyfish by Twig George. I'm only going to read a few pages to you, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to point out some sentences that I like for a variety of reasons, and I'm going to show you how I pay attention to the prepositional phrases and note whether an infinitive is involved. One of your assignments, or actually in your easy grammar book this week, the worksheets having to do with prepositions ask you to underline the subject once, the verb twice, and then to draw a line through the prepositions. So I'm going to show you how I do that in a real book, because one of your assignments this week is to bring in another sentence or two that has a preposition in it and or an infinitive. So I'm going to show you with this book. So this is Jellies, The Life of Jellyfish. I'm going to make sure to show you the pictures because you don't want to miss the pictures. They are really what make this book, and I'm going to have to slide over so you can see it. If you were a jellyfish, you would have two choices, to go up or to go down. That's it, two. You would not have a brain, so you could not decide what to have for breakfast or where to go for lunch. Here's what I like about this book. The author is writing to you, the reader, but he is writing as if you were a jellyfish. He's saying, if you were a jellyfish. And so I like that point of view or perspective that he brings. Did you notice or hear any prepositions or any infinitives in what I just read? I'm going to give you a close-up view and see if you can spot any. Do you see any? I see a couple of infinitives. One, I see an infinitive right here, to go. There's that pesky little word to, but this time it's followed by a verb, so it's an infinitive. But then look, right after is a prepositional phrase, for lunch. I know it's a prepositional phrase because there's a preposition for, and it's followed by a person, place, or thing, and that is lunch. Did you see any more? Let's keep going. The ocean currents would carry you along from place to place. In this way, you could travel hundreds of miles. Food might pass by you and get caught in your tentacles. Or not. So I have put a marker right over this sentence because this is one that I want to show you how I code. Just like you're going to code in your easy grammar book and how you're going to code on a sticky note for me. The sentence is, food might pass by you and get caught in your tentacles or not. That's actually two sentences. And actually, this author, he's getting real brave. He made or not into a sentence. Now, is that a real complete sentence? No. But he makes it one and he uses it in an unconventional way to grab our attention. It sure grabbed mine. All right. So, here is my sentence, and you can see I made a little mistake, so I had to white it out. So, food might pass by you and get caught in your tentacles. Now, when I'm thinking about the subject, I'm thinking, who or what is this sentence about? And when I read it, I know that it's about food. So I underline food one time to show that it's the subject. Now, this sentence is a little unique in that it has several verbs. It has a verb phrase here, might pass, but then it has another verb right here, get. It's called a compound. We'll talk about that next week, and you don't necessarily have to notice that in the sentences that you look for, but I wanted to point it out for you. So I underlined the verbs with 2 lines to show that that's the action. You can see that I crossed out 2 phrases here. I have 2 prepositional phrases. By you, there's the preposition by, and it's followed by a pronoun. And in your tentacles, there's the preposition in, and there's the noun tentacles. So that's how I would code it. I've got one more page for you, then we'll stop. Sea turtles, dolphins, and whale sharks would try to eat you. Now here's a picture of a jellyfish that they don't even have a name for, but isn't it cool? It's very dark. All right, so this sentence, in the last sentence we had a compound verb. In this sentence we've got a compound subject. So who or what is this sentence about? It's about sea turtles, dolphins, and whale sharks. So I underlined all 3 one time to indicate that it's the subject. Now, the verb phrase here is would try. Would is actually a helping verb. We'll talk more about those later, but I just wanted to point that out to you. Try is the action verb. Now, here is that to eat you is the rest of the sentence, and here's what I want you to be careful of. You might look at that word you and think, oh, that's a pronoun. To eat you must be a prepositional phrase, but it's not, because look, to eat, there's a verb. So really, it's an infinitive, and we indicate that by putting parentheses around it. So I hope this book interested you. I hope that showing how I code sentences will help you in coding your sentences in your Easy Grammar book this week and help you when you are finding sentences that you like in the text from your book to bring in and share. I'll see you in clip 2.